Hello, Namaskar, welcome to my pod, the CAA Show. CAA, as all of you know, is Conversations and Analysis. My name is Juggi Bhasin. To become a subscriber, all you have to do is to press that red button on your screen, and subscription is, of course, completely free. Would also really appreciate if you could like this video and share this video with your friends. All right. The recently concluded Bangladesh elections has sent this hope in India. Many people are talking about it. It's in the media. A lot of people in political circles, in the bureaucratic circles, are saying that hopefully India-Bangladesh relationship can get back on track. It can be as good or as rosy as it was during the days of the Awami League and Sheikh Hasina. And that's the current optimistic wave which is going across India. But I beg to differ. I have a different point of view. I have a different hypothesis which I would like to put across in my podcast. I personally feel that India-Bangladesh relationship has changed irrevocably for not so good. And it is going to be very, very difficult to get back to the halcyon, the rosy days of the relationship with Bangladesh during Sheikh Hasina's time. Now, why do I say that? What are the reasons for that? But first, before I talk about that, let's talk about what gives people some cause for optimism in India-Bangladesh relations. The fact is that the BNP, or the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, is headed by a young person. He's, after all, Tariq Rahman is comparatively a very young person. He's also Western educated. He was in London for a significant part of his life. He does not carry to that extent, the India-Bangladesh legacy which we had with his mother, which was not a very happy kind of a relationship which we had with her. He does not carry the scars of that particular legacy or that relationship. He is a man who supposedly, he thinks he has a fresh mind, he applies a fresh mind to things, and there are indications that he wants to have a good relationship with India. And also the fact that this has not been confirmed, but I think it's very much there that the Indian Prime Minister has been invited to the swearing in of Tariq Rahman, though I don't think so. The Prime Minister is going to go there because the AI summit, the French president's visit is going to take place around that same time, so I don't think so that's going to happen. But those are positive straws in the wind. And despite all that, I'm still saying that the rot in the relationship is so deep, so permanent, so not ready to be changed, as it were, that it's very, very difficult to go back to those original days. And why do I say that? And I'll give you 3 or 4 big reasons why this relationship might actually head from bad to worse. The first single biggest reason, and that is not even security, that is not even the Jamaat. The single biggest reason, I think, is the textile export business, a business where both India and Bangladesh have very significant stakes. That is the core of the heart of the problem. And let me explain very quickly what do I mean by that. See, we are concerned with the Western world garment export business. Garments are, of course, exported all over the world, but that is a very significant area where we export, both India and Bangladesh, and that business is roughly worth around $115 billion. And in 2024, Bangladesh was the second biggest exporter of garments, low-cost apparel, basically high-volume, low-cost apparel to the Western world. They had captured a significant portion of that market. But ever since this man, Muhammad Yunus, the chief advisor of Bangladesh, took over and relationship with India went south, last so many months, and this, we have seen this rapid Islamicization, radicalization of Bangladesh, and factories after factories have been closing in Bangladesh, and India has stopped the export of cotton and yarn because that industry of Bangladesh, that the export potential which they realize is rise on the back of the cotton and the yarn which we export to Bangladesh, that has almost come to a stop. So that is in a microcosm, really the industry which was out there. We were also benefiting, they were benefiting, but there is a school of thought that the Bangladesh garment industry actually rose because of concessions initially which were made by successive governments in New Delhi, which helped the Bangladesh garment industry to flourish and come up. To a lot of people feel at the cost of Indian garments exports, and which form the basis of the India-Bangladesh friendship. And therefore, the question which I'm asking is that, assuming if everything goes well, Tariq Rahman wants to develop closer relationship with India, but that really means that India will have to give up something, will have to make certain sacrifices to steady the ship, to bring the relationship on keel, which means concessions in the export sector. Because I'll tell you what has really happened. In the last few months of this UNIS era, Indian exports have diversified. Our government exporters are people who export from all the exporting zones, whether it's Noida or Tirupur or all the other places in India. They have exported to new markets, new countries, new avenues have been developed, new market strategies, new supply chains have been developed. And is it possible for the Indian exporters to go back to status quo of a few months back when a different kind of a system was in operation between India and Bangladesh? I personally don't think so it is possible. That's the first part. And number two, even if the government wants the Indian export industry to make concessions to allow Bangladesh to again come up to form this bedrock of friendship between that country, is that something which is going to be acceptable to the Indian people? Because please remember, the opposition is waiting in the wings for this government to make a mistake, especially on the government export issue. Because the government export issue has, as we have seen from the recent debates in Parliament, has become the single biggest hot potato in the relationship between the government and the opposition. Because if any concessions are made on this score, if any kind of allowances are made at the cost of Indian exports, then they'll be held to pay for the central government. And I don't think so the central government would be any mood, or it would be adventurous enough to try such an approach, which means no concessions to Bangladesh. And therefore it means that the first step of rectifying this broken relationship with Bangladesh cannot take place. That is my hypothesis. That's a number one factor. Number two, and that's also a very important factor, the Jamaat, which is an Islamicized troublemaker, the radical outfit, they have been responsible for the killing of so many Hindus in Bangladesh. They have this complete antipathy to India, and then they have this close relationship with Pakistan. And even the student citizen group led the National Citizen Party led by Nahid Islam. The Jamaat is led, of course, by that fellow Amir Rahman. Now, yes, they haven't got too many seats in these elections. I think the Jamaat has got about 68 seats and the National Citizen Party has got about only 6 seats. But combined together, these two forces, and they have won in the border areas, they can create enough problems for India, especially because they have won in the border areas. And therefore, can we overlook that? We have to take not only a cautious, but perhaps a hardline stance against the Jamaat and the student affiliated bodies which can create, because they're all anti-India. They're completely anti-Indian. So we cannot give any concessions on that factor. So that's a number two factor, that a rapprochement, as it were, with Bangladesh is not going to happen in a jiffy. And the third factor, and this is a very big factor, we are now, this SIR debate is going on in India. Of course, the revisions are going on in state after state, especially in West Bengal. And to that extent, if we offer a hand of friendship to Bangladesh, and if, as I said, a rapprochement does happen, does that mean that we will stop pushing back the illegal migrants from Bangladesh back to Bangladesh? People said, okay, let status quo remain. We want to be friends with Bangladesh, so we are not going to pursue that policy. I think that those horses have bolted the stables a long time back. There will be no coming back. It's like the American situation. Even tomorrow, let's say if the Democrats were to come and be in power, do you think that it would be so easy for them to open the floodgates of migration again in America? Not possible. And the same thing holds true for India, that if we think now that we can stop this policy where we are pushing back the illegal migrants, and we can just stop and say, yeah, you're most welcome to send your people out here and we are okay with it, it cannot happen, which again is going to be a test case, because if Bangladesh would say that if you want friendship with us, then you have to stop pushing back maybe our citizens or whatever back into Bangladesh, and that's not going to happen. So that is why I'm saying these three fundamental reasons are the reasons why the rapprochement with Bangladesh is not going to happen, not in a jiffy, certainly, I promise you that. And the fourth and the last reason obviously is that Bangladesh suddenly has become, to that extent, because it is there on near the Bay of Bengal, and then it goes on, we go down to the Indian Ocean, the Malacca Straits, and all that. It's a hotbed for big power rivalries between China, the US, and Pakistan. Of course, we know is very, very active. They have developed these strong links with the Jamaat. But I would say I wouldn't be very surprised if they establish a relationship with the BNP also. So we'll have to wait and watch. We can offer certain concessions, but as I said, on the big three ticket items, that is on textiles, whether it is on migration or pushing back the illegal migrants, or whether the fact that we are soft on this border area where the Jamaat and the student and the national citizen group, they are active, we go soft on that. It's not possible. We cannot do that, which means fissures, lines will develop, because as much as maybe Tariq Rahman would like to develop a rapprochement or good relations with India, it's not going to happen quickly. It's something which I am extremely skeptical of. And that is why something very significant in the light of these developments, something which happened 2 days back. The Prime Minister was in this place called, I think, the Moran bypass in Assam. And there is this highway there. I think it's highway number 37, and it's called the ELF, or the Emergency Landing Facility. And he landed at an Air Force. It's called a C-130J. It's a big transport aircraft, the best in the world. He landed in that, and not only he landed in that, but after that there was an air show, a kind of assertion of air power with the Sukhois, the Rafales, I think the Tejas. They all took part in this air show for 40 minutes. And a lot of people felt this was a message being sent that, we are developing these capabilities, which we are in the border areas, in these significant areas, message being sent to China. But to my mind, this was a message, very, very significant message, which was being sent to Bangladesh. And what is that message? Because the government knew, the Prime Minister knew that Tariq Rahman has taken part. And actually, if you ask me, even more than Mohammad Yunus, this message was being sent to Tariq Rahman, that yes, at one hand, we are prepared to shake hands with you. We might not be able to give large concessions, but we want friendly relations with Bangladesh, certainly. But we keep our powder dry. And in the light of the talk of Mohammad Yunus, that, the seven sisters, that is the northeastern states, can be cut off, and, we have only the access to the sea from Bangladesh, and all this rubbish talk of Mohammad Yunus, the message was being sent to all the parties in Bangladesh, where India has the capability, because please remember the Hercules aircraft, that ELF facility can carry up to 75 tons of weight of aircraft can land on that. What do you mean by 75 tons? It means that tomorrow in an emergency, in a jiffy, we can pack in our troops, we can pack in our artillery, we can pack in our heavy caliber weaponry into these aircraft, and we can then, go to Bangladesh, Dhaka, Chittagong, wherever we want from there. That was a message being sent that yes, it's what we call a kind of, you are smiles, you are cheering, you are congratulating Tariq Rahman, the BNP, but you are actually warning the BNP. You are warning Mohammad Yunus that beware. Now we have we can not only take off from our airfields, but we can take off from a runway. Our troops can land, paratroopers can land anytime. We can barricade, blockade Bangladesh whenever we want. That was the significance of this. And more than China, actually, even if you ask me, the message was being sent to Pakistan, the message was being sent to Bangladesh by that thing. So that's why I'm saying, before there are many people in this country who are jumping with joy at the BNP victory and predicting that India-Bangladesh relationship is back on track. I'm afraid I don't share that optimism. It's a long way to go. It's a wait and watch situation. Yes, there'll be a lot of deft maneuvering which will happen from Indian diplomacy, because we do certainly want a friendly Bangladesh, but not at the cost of these fundamental changes which have occurred now in terms of the textile export business, in terms of the illegal migrant issue, in terms of the border areas, because we know the radicals now occupy the border areas. These are three areas which are very, very tricky for us. We have to wait and watch and see what happens. But we're going to keep our powder dry and not let anyone get the impression that India is willing to compromise or have friendship on any terms. That's not going to happen in a jiffy. And so on this note, I come to the end of this podcast. I hope you really liked it. You like my show, do subscribe to it. On this note, it's goodbye and cheers from my end.